You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Sit back, enjoy the show. Paul Apostolakis, Brad Weisgerber, Salvatore Kuzmano. We are the trio of Inside Real Estate. Thank you for tuning in again. For those of you that are back, thank you. For those of you that are here for the first time, welcome. Please like, share, subscribe our podcast. You can find us on Facebook /IRE podcast. You can go to YouTube. You can go to any podcast app, or you can go to irepodcast.com.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot. We're kind of all over the place now. A lot of places you can find us. You can either watch us live. You can listen to us on the podcast thing. We're growing in our popularity, guys. We've got like 4 listeners now. You know what I mean? So, how you boys doing?
Good, man.
Good, man.
Yeah, you guys busy. We've had a busy week at the office. It seems like things have picked up quite a bit. Today we have a special guest, Kyle Lang. He works with RE/MAX. He is a local agent here in the area, RE/MAX Dream. He's been their top guy for the last 3 years. He was in the RE/MAX Hall of Fame in 2020. Really sharp guy. I'll talk to him about how he got into the industry, obviously, since he hasn't been on the show before, and then we'll go from there. So without further ado, Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, what's up, man? So
pretty cool intro there.
You like that? You like the intro, Kyle?
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. So, Kyle, obviously, whenever you have someone on the show, we'd like to find out how in the hell you got into the industry, right? Nobody really wakes up thinking they're going to be a real estate agent all the time. That's very few far between. So tell me about how you got into real estate, man.
Yeah, no kid says they want to be a realtor when they grow up. I understand.
Right.
So my family owns a couple of used car dealerships in the Metro Detroit area. So after I graduated from high school, went to work for my dad, did that for a little bit, and it was all right. Kind of worked my way up there. I was a F&I manager for a couple of years, and I just got to the point where I was sick of the same mundane thing. What am I going to do every day? You're doing the same thing every day, I should say. And I wanted to try something different. I didn't go to college. I got a wife who likes expensive shit. So I was like, all right, how can we make some money? And so I said, all right, let's give real estate a shot. We had just gone through the process of selling our first home, buying our second home. And I reached out to the agent that we use for our transactions. And I said, I'm thinking about making this change. Do you think it'd be a good fit? She said, yeah, I think you'd be great at it. And then I asked, well, can you introduce me to your broker? RE/MAX isn't historically known for working with new agents. Like when they were first founded, it was more so for experienced agents that have been in the industry for a little while. But they've opened that up a lot, especially in recent history as well. So she said, yeah, you can meet with Lisa. It's been my broker for all 5 years I've been here. And we hit it off right away and kind of just hit the ground running.
That's awesome, man. So obviously you said RE/MAX is more of a veteran type team when you came over there. So the big question is how do you get your business moving at that early stage of your career?
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough. I was just about to turn 24 when I started. And so, at that point, a lot of your friends are getting ready to make that first purchase. So I was working primarily with buyers when I first started, and really just working with my sphere. I grew up playing hockey in the Metro Detroit area as well. I went to 3 different high schools, so I know a lot of people, and just really started reaching out to them, letting them know I'm in the industry, and what I lacked in knowledge or what I knew about the industry itself, I made up for with my hustle and just my availability to be able to be there for them, answer questions for them whenever they had any questions, and kind of just be of service to my clients.
Yeah, Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
Do you still primarily work with buyers, or have you switched over?
No, I'm transitioning now to most listings.
Mostly listings.
It seems to be the trend. The new people work with buyers, and then more experienced veterans work with sellers. Why is that? Is it because it's less work?
It's a time-consuming thing. Yeah, I think it's just more so the longer you're in the business. They say you got to list to last, right? If you want to hang around in this business and really be one of the top producers. So, it happens organically. I think for a lot of agents, I've seen my numbers. They increase almost by a similar rate, probably 25 to 35% each year with my listings that come up. And then, but as you're working, like I still work with a fair amount of buyers. It's a little more towards the listing side now.
Well, I have to imagine as well that as you're in the business, you've got buyers that end up being listers, right? Yeah. So it kind of transitions into that pretty well. And Sal, we see this in our business. I mean, using your sphere of influence to get going is probably the best way to do it, because people have a lot of contacts a lot of times that are going to either, buy, or in our business refinance. And some people, a lot of times they won't work their sphere properly, right, Sal?
Yeah, I mean, you got to let people know what you do, right? I mean, whether they're in your sphere or not. I mean, it's funny how often, you'll be sitting there, whether you're at a restaurant or a bar or something like that, and you hear someone talking about mortgages, right? Or interest rates or selling or buying, and you have a quick conversation and potentially end up doing their loan, right? But you could easily just sit there and eat your sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kyle, it sounds like you were just hustling, trying to get your name out there as a new agent.
Yeah, exactly. I just going off what Sal said. I mean, I remember a handful of times where, my wife and I'd be out to lunch somewhere and I'd hear someone talk about real estate at the table behind me. So I would, turn around, hand them my card, have a quick conversation with them, and boom, they're a client.
It's pretty wild when we're in our business. There's opportunity everywhere because there's so many transactions being transacted around us at all times. There's so much business going on around us that if you actually just open up your ears a little bit and interject yourself a little bit, that you can get business just out of that way, just because there's so much business going around. So Kyle, you get moving in the business, you start using your sphere of influence. Talk to me about the first year. The first year to me is always the hardest, right? That first year is just the grind, especially in real estate or mortgages, whatever in this business. The first year is pretty tough. Talk to me about, that first year and your mentality and how to get through that.
Yeah, I wanted to, I'm goal oriented. So I said, all right, I want to talk with one new person about real estate every day, whether it would be a buyer, a seller, someone that was looking to lease a property, something along those lines. If I could just get in front of one different person, and they could be somebody I know, but I wanted to have a real conversation with them about real estate on a daily basis. And I said, if I could do that, I said, eventually that's going to just snowball into real transactions, real conversations that'll, help get transactions for me.
Yeah. And I think that translates into any industry. I mean, if you're in any type of sales role, if you're talking about your product, people will assimilate you with that product. And then eventually they might not be in the market, but they'll know somebody in the market. I mean, that travels, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, word of mouth's undefeated. It's the number one referral source in this industry.
Yeah. So now you're past your first year. You're starting to get moving. How do you start excelling in your role?
I think just the more and just in learning, and each transaction is different. You guys know this from the mortgage side too. No two deals are going to be the same. There's going to be a lot of similarities, but you're going to learn something. So just kind of rolling with the punches. I think one thing that I do really well is I handle chaos really well. So if something happens that wasn't, on the plan for the smooth transaction, I do a really good job of, all right, this sucks. We had this blip come up. What's the solution for it? I always say, if I have a problem to call my client with, I'm going to call them. I'm going to tell them about the problem, but then I'm going to tell them, all right, this is what we can do to get around this and to keep this thing moving forward.
Yeah. Crisis management is a big deal. I mean, Sal, Brad, and we deal with that all the time. And you could tell when somebody's got like a good grip of like handling crisis. And then on other times you'll see a loan officer or a real estate agent just kind of flip out and they just freak the fuck out. Right. Yeah. And then they're yelling at people and
they play avoidance. A lot of people don't like to communicate when there's a problem, right? They hide from it and they dwell on it and they freak out inside, and it escalates the problem even more because they don't want to deal with it. And that is detrimental to someone's business. Like if there's a problem, at bare minimum, communicate what the problem is, even if you don't have an answer yet. And people appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
Here's the issue. I'm working on it. I don't know the solution yet, but I will get back to you.
Right.
When you avoid phone calls and don't communicate, it's really, really bad. Everybody sees it.
I worked with a loan officer one time, and he said, clients, a lot of times they're like toddlers. If something goes wrong and they fall, and if you freak out, the toddler's going to cry.
100%. Yeah.
If something goes wrong in a transaction and you tell the client, hey, like, we're good here, I got this figured out, they're going to remain calm. So that's what I always remember that. And I try to roll with that. If something goes wrong, hey, we'll find a solution to this. And like you said too, like sometimes people avoid communication during a problem like that. When I get a deal, I'm juggling you guys too, anywhere from probably 15 to 25 transactions at once. If everything's moving smoothly, I don't need to know about it. Like I'm not the agent. I pick up the phone. I don't call the lender. Hey, can I get an update? Like I'm trusting that lender that they're going to call me if there's an issue. But if not, everything's moving along business as usual.
Yeah, and then but on the other side of that, if there's an issue, you're not notified, and all of a sudden you're 3 weeks into the process. And now all of a sudden the LO's like, oh, well, there was a problem. Well, when did you find out about that? Oh, it was a week ago. Well, why didn't you call me a week ago so we can work on it, right?
Like we're a team here. Like we both want to get this thing closed. If there's a problem, if the client's not getting you docs in a timely manner, like reach out to me. I'll text them. I'm not going to be like a dick about it. I'm going to say, hey, just spoke with Sal. They're waiting on those bank statements from you. Oh yeah, I'll get them over today. You know what I'm saying? Like how many times does that really work? It's just, if you can get them from multiple sides, they're going to obviously get to working for you.
How long did it take you to kind of figure out like having a good team around you was important, like finding the right loan officer, title company, inspectors? Because as a real estate agent, what people don't understand is a lot of times you bring all those pieces together for the client, right?
Yeah, I don't sell anything. Like I don't own these houses, right? Like I don't dictate anything. Like I'm the service for them, right? My job is to bring buyers and sellers together, negotiate terms and price, and then just try to make the transaction as smooth as possible for them. So that's hooking them up with a lender that I know is that's going to work smoothly. I've worked with the same title company since day one. They're hooked up here with my office and they do a really good job. So, I'm a firm believer in too, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I learned that very on. I think that was one thing that really helped me too, coming from working in an F&I background, is like you're only as good as the people that you have working with you too. So if me as the F&I manager, I was doing my job, but if the salesman wasn't doing their job, it was going to get all out of whack.
Yeah.
If I can do my job, but really like there's going to be so many other people that go into the transaction that I'm relying on, but they're a direct reflection of me. If they mess up, well, Kyle told me, you referred this person to me. Like, why would you do this? So you have to make sure that you're working with good people that are going to take care of your clients as good as you would.
Yeah, it's crazy, Sal, how many agents sometimes don't have a team around them to that they trust. They just kind of go with willy-nilly with whatever comes across their table. And I think there's something to be said about, hey, no, like this guy is really reputable. This person's really reputable. And then as a consumer, a lot of times, because they don't really totally understand real estate, they don't understand how many moving parts there are, right? And how important every single piece of the puzzle really is. You know what I mean? As a consumer, how do you kind of get that through their head that real estate isn't an exact science sometimes. It seems like you should, okay, I want to buy this house, I close on a mortgage, I'm done, right? But it's not really that easy. So Sal, how do you explain that?
Well, I mean, I think it's true that I guess, during the transaction, you're kind of only as good as your weakest link, right? Whether that's a title company, insurance, agent, loan officer, whatever it is, like it's real easy to slam a deal through in, 2 weeks or whatever on the loan side and CTC it. But then, title doesn't get numbers balanced until literally, the night before closing. And, you're telling this person what their final figures are like hours before they go close, you know what I mean? And it's like kind of a constant thing I see in this business. And it's not because I think people like to work with people who suck, but a lot of people just don't really understand, like, hey, you have, like, as an agent, you have options, right? Like a lot of people just use a title company that's in their office. And it's like, people I work with a lot, sometimes I'm like, hey man, like, I know your broker like pushes this person, or, you get shares or whatever, but like it's kind of messing up all of our deals. Like you should probably talk to someone else because it's not worth a few bucks,
Yeah, it's never worth it's never worth a lot of times you'll have consumers or even real estate agents that are like, they go for cheaper options that have less service. But in our business, it's like service is everything. Wouldn't you agree, Kyle?
100%. Yeah, that's one thing that so many times, like, a loan officer that I've never worked with before, like they'll, I'll interact with them and they want to start first talking about like rates and fees and all this stuff like that. And I'm just like, time out. Like, I've never once referred a client based off of rates, fees. It's always going to be off of the service. It's, I trust this guy. He's going to do a good job, or she's going to do a good job. That's why you should work with them. And I trust that they're going to do whatever
performance. Performance is key.
It goes back to what you said, Kyle, is you don't sell anything, right? We're a service-based industry, both industries, right? Real estate and mortgages. It's a service industry. You are selling service. You're not selling a product. You're not selling a tangible good. You're selling your service. You're selling yourself.
Yeah. So you've been in the business now since 2016, right, Kyle? Yeah. So you've kind of seen the industry on an uptick year over year. You know what I mean? Like year over year, we've seen busier years. It's like, oh, wow, this year was really busy. Next year will be a slower year. And it hasn't really happened that way. So like living in that environment, are you worried, not really living in a downturn? Are you worried about a downturn coming up, or do you feel confident in the housing market going forward?
I'm super confident in it because, I mean, again, I've only been in it for 5 years. I was 16 years old in 2008 when everything crashed. So I don't know a whole lot, from personal experience about how that worked, but all the research shows that a big portion of that was the market was oversaturated back then. There was too many listings out there. There was too much stuff going on. They weren't, the mortgage industry was so laxed in qualifying buyers and things like that. They were giving out way more money than these people could actually afford.
Hey, don't be blaming us.
No blame.
I'm assuming you guys probably didn't have a huge impact on that either. But they were giving out way too much money to these people, and now you guys know how strict it is to get a mortgage. I mean, like it's a financial enema. It's
hard. Yeah.
Can you afford this? What is your income like? What are the property taxes? How many times, right, does a buyer's looking at a house and based off their debt to income ratio, the property taxes are going to have a huge impact on whether or not they can swing this house, like 185 one city versus 135 another city. That's a really big difference sometimes. So I don't think there's enough houses on the market. Will rates go up? I'm assuming so. I would defer to you guys, but it's not realistic for them to stay where they've been at for the last, 6 to 12 months. So I think once the rates start to go up a little bit, people's buying power is going to go down, and that's going to organically help prices drop on these houses.
Yeah, it's interesting. The market will self-correct itself, but to your point, the fractures that we had in 2008 aren't really those issues between people qualifying for loans they probably shouldn't have, the oversaturation of the market. Right now, we're seeing just pure supply demand issue. We just don't have enough housing for the demand that's out there. You know what I mean? And unless that demand goes down, which I don't see it going down because we're having millennials go into the marketplace. We're having more people having babies. I mean, we just have a severe lack of homes no matter what happens. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. A lot of people just keep saying the crash is coming, the crash is coming, the crash is coming. And I know people that have been saying this for years now, right?
Yeah, they want to believe it. That's it.
Yeah.
They want to believe it.
And if you say something long enough, you'll be right. Like at some point, something will happen where they'll go, I was right. You see that?
Yeah.
But they've been wrong consistently over the last 4 or 5 years that no crash has been coming. And I have a friend of mine who held off buying a house. He was renting. He had rental properties, but I told him, I don't think it's going to, like, there's no crash coming. And now he finally bought a house, but he bought way higher than he would have if he bought it 3-4 years ago. And he lost that money on the equity.
I had a closing yesterday. These clients, they were FHA buyers. They bought the house in March of 2019. They didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. They were just, they were your standard first-time home buyers.
They limped in. They were limping into the market.
100%. FHA mortgage. They paid $99,000 for this house. We closed yesterday. They sold it for $160,000. They haven't put a penny into the house. 60% equity in 2 years.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Yeah, yes. And are we going to see those gains again going forward? I don't know if we'll see such, those type of gains, but you'll still, look, real estate performs well through a lot of stuff. It does, even through recessions.
You're always going to need a place to live. It's always going to have a value to it, right? Like it'll never be worth zero. It just can't. You might lose 50% of your equity, but it'll never be worth zero. You'll always have an asset.
Yeah. It's
well, you only lose or gain when you sell. I mean, it's kind of like a commodity, right? So, I mean, essentially, like, even those people who, I bought my house for 380, it's worth 350 now after rates go up. I mean, you're levered up on it at super low interest rates. So essentially, as long as you don't sell, eventually you'll probably catch up, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to if you had a higher interest rate.
Can you afford the house, and how long do you plan on living here for? Like if you've got young kids and you're in the school district you want to be in, you're in a steady job, it's like you're not going to sell this house for 20 years anyway. What does it matter?
Yeah. Also, there's the forbearance issue that a lot of people talk about. A lot of homes in forbearance, but a lot of those are coming out of forbearance. And on top of that, if you're behind in your payments, you're behind in your payments. But if your house has $40,000, $50,000 in equity in it, you're not going to walk away from that house. You're going to sell it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to sell that house, and you're going to make up the profit and potentially go buy another one, right?
That's it.
It isn't like going to crush our system. The forbearance thing was a big question mark, but I don't see that happening either, because even if they did foreclose, that bank has equity in that property. They're not going to lose money in that property like they did back in 2008.
Think of like the market's been, quote unquote, this seller's market for so long. Think of all the investors that are just chomping at the bit, that have just been stacking away money. They're waiting. They'll go up to people. Hey, listen, okay, what do you owe on this house? I'll buy it. You could stay here and rent it from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have to move like that. It's just,
it's funny. We talked to an investor last week, and she does short-term rentals, and she has a whole bunch of money in the bank, and she's freaking out because she's like, well, she wasn't freaking out, but she was like, with inflation going the way that it is, I'm losing money in the bank. So she's like, I need to find a property to put this money into because I can get money on that money. So with inflation happening, I mean, inflation to me is like one of the bigger risks of what's going on right now in the market. Inflation's not good for bonds, not good for interest rates, but inflation's here. I don't see that going away either. I mean, the cost of goods are going up regardless. I know that they're saying it's transitory or like temporary is what the Fed is saying because of what happened with COVID. But at the same time, prices tend to go up. They don't tend to come down very easily, right?
I just had this conversation yesterday. I was at a closing, and we were talking about new construction, and everyone knows about how lumber prices have skyrocketed on lumber. And, I can tell you the builders aren't making any less money. They're just charging the buyers more.
True.
And even if lumber prices do decrease a little bit, come back down to a more realistic number, the builders are going to say, hey, they were paying this much before, they could pay it now. And then their margins just got bigger. So,
they're not going to drop their prices exponentially to match it, right? They're not. Once someone gets comfortable with something, once the human population gets comfortable doing something, then that becomes a normal, right?
Yeah.
Like look at markets like the Bay Area where it's crazy, or New York, or markets where housing prices go crazy. They don't come back down because the demand is going to really dictate all that, and it'll be interesting to see because new construction is up. But it's still way behind catching up because in 2008, 2009, 2010, there wasn't a lot of new construction happening, which has caused a huge backlog in lack of homes, which exasperates the issue of supply and demand, which is really interesting what's happening. I just don't see a huge crash coming. I do see inflation being a risk to that, but I don't see like a 2008 crash. I mean, Sal, Brad, do you guys agree with that?
I mean, no, I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see a lot of inventory flooding too from the baby boomers. I mean, unfortunately, they're getting to that age where they're going to either pass away or, be put into homes or whatever. And I think that's kind of going to even the market out a little bit. And really that will probably be the driving force of some correction, I think. I mean, think about how many siblings your parents had versus what, we have.
Yeah.
How many of them have homes, right? I mean, everyone bought a home.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I mean, short of, some crazy wartime event or something like that, I mean, I don't think you can really predict a crash based upon, I think everything's supported, right? The values are kind of supported right now by inflation. The stock market's kind of supported by inflation. Things just are going to cost more money for a while.
Yeah, they are. They are. I mean, until, the one thing that is going up too is wages, because there's a severe lack of employers. I mean, people looking for work. Employers are severely I drove by like a fast food chain, and they're paying like 15, $16 an hour for working at the fast food chain because they can't find people to work. So jobs, to me, is another factor that is going to support our market, because we don't have a lack of jobs right now. You know what I mean? We just don't. And if there was a lack of jobs, I'd be kind of freaked out. There's unemployment's high. There's nobody's hiring, but it's the opposite, right?
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of what Sal was saying about the baby boomers, that's a generation that they're severely affecting the market, because, like you said, they're living longer than any other generation has in the past. So those houses, unfortunately, like you said, like when they pass away or move into retirement homes or whatever, those houses are hitting the market. And then the millennials, which for a long time, a lot of people thought, because we grew up during that crash in 08 and we were so afraid of the housing market, people said, oh, millennials aren't going to want to buy houses. They're just going to want to rent. They're not going to want to deal with that. So you have that generation as well, that they're starting to buy houses. So one generation that's not selling nearly enough, and one generation that's really coming in and saying, hey, we want to own property now.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's funny because I'm a millennial, right? And when the whole crash and everything happened, I didn't even know that it happened. Like, I didn't understand it. It had no effect on me at all. I was just I don't know how old I was, a teenager, right? It had zero effect on me. I didn't care.
I think millennials are savvy investors, to be honest with you. I think millennials are looking for places to put their money. I think they've seen, the crash. They might have lived through it, that bad economic times a couple of times. But realistically, I find that millennials are really savvy, and they're looking for places to put their money, as opposed to like just spending it at the bar.
They're super educated buyers, I feel like. I mean, I don't know about how you guys feel, but like when they do their research and when they're ready to go, they're ready to go. They reach out to you, hey, listen, I want to buy a house. Okay, they get pre-approved. They probably get you their stuff in a really timely manner within a day or two, where you can set the pre-approval, and then they're out looking at houses that weekend. I mean, I just did someone. We just closed last week on it. They got pre-approved on a Thursday. Sunday afternoon, we were writing an offer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
they know what they want. They're moving quickly for what they want, right? So it is interesting. So what do you see coming down for the rest of the year? Do you feel like we're in July right now? Do you feel like going into the fall and winter months that we're going to have a strong market?
Yeah, I do. I think we're still playing some catch up from last year. I know you guys worked, obviously, because you were the banking industry, so you worked through that stay-at-home order and stuff. For us as agents, we had 6 weeks where we were completely off. Like there's some people that were kind of cutting corners and breaking the rules a little bit, but for the most part, we had 6 weeks where nothing was really happening. And I think you saw that really push back the market and merge the two markets from the end of 2020 into 21. And I think now what you're going to see is there were so many buyers that were out there in the spring and early summer that were getting beat out in all these multiple offer situations. And they just said, to hell with this, I'm going to wait a little bit. I think they're going to come back around and say, okay, I'm ready to start looking again, because it's a little less competitive. I'm not seeing much 10, 12 offers. I mean, I'm still getting 4 or 5, or even like I had 2 listings where they both stayed on the market for about a week. We got each house got a strong 1 offer, and we took them, so it's coming back down to a little more realistic.
Yeah,
market.
You're not seeing like 50 offers on a property like you did a little bit ago, but it is becoming less competitive. But the demand, I think to your point, there was buyer fatigue, and I think they're going to come back around, right? Because they're like, okay, I couldn't get anything in the super hot market. The winter's probably going to be a little bit slower. Maybe we're not competing against 50 people. Maybe it's 4, like you said, which is way different, which is much more normalized than what we were seeing in the spring, for sure. I agree. I think the winter market is going to be an opportunity for buyers to get in, where, and then in the spring, I think going back into the spring, depending on what the interest rates do, I think we're going to have a strong spring coming back off of that. So, I mean, who knows? Who really knows? I mean, the economy's been so in flux that it's hard to tell what's going to happen. But I do know that housing is going to survive through it all. It'll survive at the very least. You know what I mean? So Kyle, so now that, you know, we went through that, you started in the industry, you kind of figured out that you're working with listings. So now in today's market, what are you doing in today's market to kind of propel yourself or kind of grow within your industry? That was for Kyle.
Yeah. So I do a lot of social media stuff. Oh, sorry. You broke up there. I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
So I do a lot of social media stuff. Sorry, guys. So a lot of stuff with social media, just staying top of mind with people, reaching out to past clients. I do some print, some mailers, things of that nature. And just, I always try to provide value. If I'm hitting you up with anything, whether it be something in the mail, something online, I want to provide some sort of value to you to show that I'm going to work for you and I can do for you what another agent can't or wouldn't do for you.
Yeah, that's always good. So the value is always obviously a big thing. So how do you show that? How do you show the value? Like, what kind of value do you mean when you say like, because a lot of real estate agents, I mean, it's a pretty static. I mean, you look for a house, you find a house. How do you kind of set yourself apart from a value standpoint?
Yeah, so it's a lot of this it's relationship based in this industry, and agents want to work with other agents that know what they're doing and are going to make a transaction smooth. I mean, you guys know too, I'm sure, how many times have one of your clients got an offer accepted because that listing agent said, "Hey, I've worked with Omega Lending in the past, and I know that they're going to be able to get the job done." You know, it's very common. So we really lean on our relationships. And I could tell you, you know, when I'm in a multiple offer situation, if I know that agent, I'm reaching out to them and I'm going to say, "Hey, listen, my client's super well qualified. They love this house. I'd love to owe you a favor." And a lot of times, you know who the good people are to owe you a favor in this industry. So basically what I mean by that is when the time comes for me to have a listing, I'm going to do whatever I can to help you and your client out as well if you're interested in that. So that's worked out pretty well for me. And then just communicating with the other agent as well, trying to be as transparent and as helpful to them as possible, because you guys deal with the same stuff. No one wants to deal with a stressful deal. What's going to get us to the closing table with the smallest amount of interruption and how to make it through this? Yeah,
no, it's true. So like what I do notice right now is that there's a lot of new agents in the business. There's just like everybody's a real estate agent and everybody's opening up a mortgage company and everybody, right? So as how do you feel about that? Let's go there. Like, how do you feel about everybody being an agent all of a sudden? I mean, there's just so many agents.
I hate it. There's too many agents. There's
too many agents.
And I understand. I was new at one point, and I started out, and there's probably someone that was complaining about me 5 years ago when I first started too.
Sure.
I just, in a perfect world, if I was the real estate czar of the world, if you're not doing a certain number of units or a certain amount of after 3 years, hang your license up. Like, go do something else. Like you're first off, like, you're getting in the way of other true professionals that are trying to do their job. But two, like, this is the biggest investment for 95% of the people that you're ever going to deal with. Like, you're doing them a disservice as well by not knowing what you're doing and not having this be your number one priority. Like, I feel like in today's world, like, side hustle is like everyone's like favorite word.
Side hustle. Yeah.
Side hustle. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but I would never want to trust one of my biggest investments to somebody's side hustle.
Right. Well,
that's very well
like
put.
These boxing matches you see, right?
The celebrity boxing matches?
Yeah, it's like, it's truly like a slap in the face to everyone who's put in the work, the time, has fought, hundreds of fights versus, one guy who gets this big deal and whatever. And, at the end of the day, it was garbage,
I worked with one buyer last year, and we'd actually gone to grade school together and kind of like lost connect. And then he reached out to me through Facebook and just said, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a house." And he's like, I've got I know the people that are in the industry. He said, but I wanted to work with an agent that I know, one, does a good amount of business, but two, it doesn't matter if they sell me a house or not. And basically what he meant by that is he didn't want to work with somebody that didn't do anything and was so desperate. Hey, I got to get this guy a house so I can get paid, so I can get a check. He wanted to work with somebody that was going to take him through the process and help guide him, but he didn't want to feel rushed. And I feel like that only comes from experience and working with someone that's been doing this for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you really, as a an agent or loan officer or sales or whatever, like you really elevate your business when, and not in a cocky way, right? But when you let people know that you don't really need them, they want to work with you. I mean, it's kind of messed up, you know what I mean? But like, and I don't mean in any rude way either, but when I'm talking to someone, they're shopping me with 5 lenders, I'm just like, dude, like, go with whoever you want. If all you care about is a rate, go with them. I don't care. And, 5 times or, 4 out of 5 times I end up working with them just because I know how to provide the value.
Well, you're confident in your product, and it's like, this is my product. I always feel like low rate, cutthroat, like lenders or real estate agents that cut their commissions. A lot of times you're going to get what you pay for a lot of times.
And there's always going to be someone that's what they want, right? They'll take the shitty experience to get the lowest rate and the cheapest fees. They'll take the shitty experience. They'll bitch about it, but they'll always be that person that wants that. And that's fine.
My uncle's a painter. He's been doing this for a long time, in the painting business for a long time. And he is not the cheapest painter you're going to find, but he's got a good enough book of business to where he'll give someone a quote and they'll say, well, that's a lot. I had someone else that was going to charge me a lot less than that. And he'll say, well, I got a client that'll pay a lot more, like it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting. I mean,
if you want to get your car painted at Mako, you can.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a $200 paint shop.
That's no problem.
Right.
I mean, it just at the end of the day.
Drawbacks.
And then everyone's like, well, it's, it's pretty simple. It's, numbers and payments, right? Like it's a loan. I'm borrowing money. So if someone's got a cheaper rate, that's what I'm going to do. Go for it. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, it's all what you close on,
Yeah. So what's next for Kyle? You know what I mean? Like, what are you working on next? Are you just gonna keep doing what you do, or are you looking to grow?
Yeah, I mean, just want to keep my goal every year is I want to beat what I did last year. If I can continue to improve, and my only competition is myself. I've got
what is that?
That is so loud.
It's not me.
Oh, sorry. I think it's my.
It's okay. No, it's all right. It's all right. It happens.
Sorry about that. So. I just want to beat what I did, the year before. I work with, I've got some friends that we were friends either before they got in the industry or even after I got in the industry. There's enough for everybody. Like there's plenty of business out there. There's always people that are looking for a house. So I just want to continue to grow, continue to do and beat what I beat the year before. Sorry about that, guys.
It's all right.
Just keep things moving, keep things growing.
All right, Kyle. Well, we're getting to the 3 questions portion of the show where we ask 3 random questions. Yeah, they're totally random. We make them up on the spot. Sal, Brad, you have one that you want to start with?
I like if you could go back at any moment in time historically, right? Like a specific moment, what would it be and why? Like if you could be like a fly on the wall,
I'm a huge conspiracy theorist on one specific topic, And I did a lot of research. I'm a Irish Catholic growing up. So my grandmother's had pictures of JFK hanging up on the wall even 30 years after he was assassinated. And I'm a firm believer that Lyndon Baines Johnson was the one that set up the assassination of JFK. So if I could be a fly on the wall in that room when he did that, that would be where I would want to be.
So you think Lyndon Johnson set it all up?
Yep.
All right.
So some of the research I've done, just really quick, I don't want to hijack it, but a lot of the Kennedys and him didn't have any relationship before he was elected president, and JFK basically picked him so he could win Texas because he knew if I can win Texas, I'll win the election. And they never thought very highly of him. They made fun of him a lot. They embarrassed him a lot in front of some pretty important people. And I think he's the one that set it all up.
Because he got embarrassed, or he wanted some bigger aspirations?
Just his pride. Yeah, just his pride. And he thought I could be the president of the United States.
Interesting. But do you think he enlisted the help of some unscrupulous, like some bad people?
Yeah. I mean, like they're politicians. They, they're upstanding citizens for the most part, but they know.
No, they're not. They're the scummiest people in the world.
Yeah, they know the biggest comebacks in the world also. Yeah,
no shit. Okay. Next question. What scares you, Kyle? What's some of what's your biggest fear in life?
Honestly, like my biggest anxiety on a daily basis, I just want to make sure no matter what type of transaction that I'm having with a client, I want whoever I'm working with to have a pleasant experience. And that is my number one priority on every transaction I do. I work in, I'll sell, I think the lowest price house I sold this year was $60,000, and I'll sell I got a $600,000 one pending. So price point doesn't matter to me. I genuinely want everyone to have a good experience because I want them to be able to go out and tell everyone that they worked with me and they had a good experience.
Yeah. If you give good experience in our business, I mean, it'll just travel. You give good experience, but if you give bad experience, they'll travel even faster.
Yep, exactly.
Bad experiences travel a lot faster.
Things happen, right? I mean, once in a while, like something wrong happens, and I think to your point earlier on the show, like how you put it back on the rails is really what happens. Because I mean, I'd be lying, right? With the amount of people that I'm able to help, that once in a while it's like, blah blah blah, we're frustrated with this or whatever, right? And it's like. Yeah. I get it, but like, here's why, here's the why behind it. Like, you got to be a kind of a maniac about the experience. I mean, you have to be.
And when things go wrong, it's your opportunity to show them because there's an old thing that says you can go to a hotel, stay the night, love the hotel room, you leave, everything's good, and you don't think twice about it. You go to a hotel room, a pipe bursts in your room, they upgrade you to a first class room or a bigger room, they take care of you. And then you give them a 5-star review.
Yeah, a good example would be like if you look at Amazon, you look at the products, right? Or Yelp, and you see a 1-star review, and then
because the packaging was messed up.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, I think they allow it to where it's like, hey, I changed my review or update on this. I contacted, this manufacturer. They were actually able to overnight a new one, returned it. The new product's great, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, that matters versus a lot of the times, it's just like, sorry, man. It is what it is. We're closing Friday. Just be lucky you're getting this house. Like,
yeah, how you handle problems in our business.
There's two ways to look at it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you guys have another question? You want me to go for it?
Go for it.
All right. If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? You got to have the same meal forever.
Yeah.
Does it have to be prepared the same way, or could you like make one, like blend it up and do like a smoothie, or
no?
Is it like the same dish?
Same dish. You can eat. I mean, if you wanted to blend it up, I guess you could, but that'd be gross.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Not if it was fruit.
Yeah, no, I would. I guess I'd have to go with like some loaded up nachos, just because you're getting like a whole bunch of different stuff in there. You're getting protein, you're getting cheese, you're getting some veggies in there and stuff as well. Chips got the carbs, so I think some sort of nacho would have to be my.
Interesting. You're a nacho guy.
I mean, nachos are good.
Nachos are good. Yeah, I've never had it yet.
I don't know if I'd want to have nachos for the rest of my life every day, but
yeah,
I
wouldn't want to have anything over and over.
Right, exactly. It's just like what do I?
I'm a big nachos Pal Grande guy, though. I mean, it really is just, even though they're kind of trash, it's good.
Yeah, the quality of Taco Bell has gone down significantly over the last, I'd say, 15
but
years.
It's still good.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's made out of cardboard. It's still good. I don't know what they're doing with it.
I saw.
Hey, how about that? You see the whole Subway tuna deal where they like tested it and there's like no tuna DNA in it. Like, what could it be? It's like
what?
Yeah, it's like shredded carpet soaked in mayo. I don't know. I mean,
that's so weird.
Go. I saw a throwback like meme picture of the old like early 2000s, late 90s Taco Bell menu. Man, I wish they would bring that stuff back. Taco Bell has gone downhill a lot in the last several years.
They don't even have cinnamon on them anymore. It's like,
are you saying since the Yo Quiero Taco Bell dog things have gone down?
Yeah.
I think since the Yo Quiero Taco Bell dog. Yeah, Yo Quiero Taco Bell.
Unfortunately,
still good.
But you think about it, and it's kind of even relative to our business. Like, they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and people still come to them and just accept a shitty experience.
Yeah,
they'll pay. Yeah. They're paying more for garbage.
Yeah.
So
humans, that's what they do. Kyle, can you tell the audience how they can get a hold of you, bro?
Yeah. So best way to get a hold of me is usually through Facebook. I have a personal page, just my name, Kyle Lang. Got a Facebook business page as well, Kyle Lang Real Estate. You can hit me up on my cell phone too at any time, 248-515-7854. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all that fun stuff. So
awesome, man. Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for doing the show. I know that you're taking some time to impart your knowledge is really useful for us and our audience. So we thank you on behalf of everybody that's listening. So
thank you so much,
man.
All four of them.
All four of them. Yeah. Be good, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
I like that kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders for sure.
For
Yeah,
sure.
he hustles.
Yeah, he does.
That's 90% of the recipe. But I gotta go, guys.
Yeah, it's a hellish day. My email's kind of blowing up.
Mine too.
I love it.
All right, guys, be good. Love you. Thank you for listening to the show. Please like, share, subscribe. IRE podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast app. We gotta go. See you next week. Peace out, bitches.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate, the nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.